for your testimony. We'll start a round of five-minute questioning. As Brazil's institutions were under attack, the person responsible for instigating these attacks was on vacation in Florida. Former President Bolsonaro has been in the United States since December. He's requesting a 6-month tourist visa to extend his stay. At the same time, he continues to spew disinformation about Brazil's elections. And I raise the question, what does it say if the United States is to provide safe haven to a foreign official responsible for seeking to undermine democracy and free and fair elections abroad? Assistant Secretary Nichols, is the Biden administration committed to swiftly reviewing any extradition requests for Mr. Bolsonaro?
It's a longstanding policy not to comment on extradition matters. Certainly, we have a strong relationship with Brazil, and will handle any requests that we receive from the Brazilian government expeditiously.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't ask you how you're going to decide. I asked you whether the administration is committed to doing it expeditiously, because my understanding is that the Lula government suggested they would like to see his return to Brazil by the end of March. So do we have an extradition request pending?
Sorry, but we don't comment on whether or not countries have submitted extradition requests, but if such a request were received, we would handle it expeditiously in accordance with law.
We don't ever comment as to whether even a request exists?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we have to think about changing that because it seems to me that it's difficult to make public policy if you don't know what are at least the facts that are pending before the government. A key driver of deforestation in the Amazon is extractive industry and agricultural activities backed by Chinese state-owned corporations. Economic pressure to convert the Amazon is tremendous, which is why the legislation that I introduced aims to establish market-based values for forest conservation and offer assistance based on the achievement of conservation results. How important is it for the United States to help generate economic value for conserving the Amazon, Mr. Duke?
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the question. We share your concern about illegal activities in the Amazon and indeed in global forest basins as a driver of deforestation, and would note that deforestation globally is one of the main causes of climate change, and we simply have to address it for biodiversity reasons and to tackle climate change properly. Part of that is making sure that we build on measures like the Lacey Act that has helped to ensure that we have ways to enforce against illegally harvested wood. And I'll note that we have engaged in the U.S.-China Glasgow Declaration with China on that issue, pushing them to enforce their own laws about illegally traded wood products from the Amazon or other regions. And we will continue to work on this agenda and welcome the legislative proposals that you've put forward.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate enforcing laws to not violate certain laws, whether they be in Brazil or here. But the question is, do we not need to establish some type of market-based values for achievement of conservation results? I mean, part of the challenge here is an economic one, right? So don't we want to find some market-based values so that we can ultimately help countries do what is in everybody's interest?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We agree that it's crucial to support countries like Brazil that seek to end deforestation and to create economic opportunities for government of Brazil and for the people that live in the Amazon region of Brazil instead of illegal activities like mining and deforestation.
How do we best do that?
So we welcome the opportunity to work with Congress on legislative approaches that properly resource that sort of support And we are eager to also look to other countries, to philanthropy, and to the private sector, including through carbon markets, such as jurisdictional approaches to reducing deforestation in order to support that objective that we very much share with you.
All right. Well, I think we need some robust. I love the private sector, and I love, private conservation efforts, but I'm not sure we're going to save the Amazon that way. Finally, as the largest democracy in the region, Mr. Secretary Nichols, I strongly believe that Brazil has a responsibility to proactively engage and help ensure accountability where we see it, not by my remarks, but by UN remarks in the Hemisphere about what's happening in Nicaragua and Venezuela, for example. In the past, President Lula has been reluctant to do so. I hope he understands the critical role that Brazil can and should play in upholding regional democratic values. What's your assessment of this term now, President Lula's willingness to play a role in addressing human rights challenges in the region, especially in Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wholeheartedly agree. The presidents, during their February 10th meeting, discussed the importance of defense for democracy on a global level during their meeting, and recall the threats that both of our countries had faced. The administration will vigorously engage Brazil on issues of democracy in our hemisphere, and we look forward to cooperating with them across various multilateral fora. We're pleased that Brazil has voted with us on issues like condemning Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine in the UN General Assembly, and we note the interest that President Lula has shown in helping to address the challenges to democracy in this hemisphere, particularly noting his interest in neighboring Venezuela.
Okay, Senator Risch.